next few weeks we're also going to look at the book of Daniel. As soon as I mention Daniel's name, you can all tell me about Daniel. When I say Daniel, what do you know?
Lions.
Lions. Not the Queensland Lions or the English Lions, but the lions in the lion's den that
Didn't eat
were
him.
ferocious. What else do we know about the book of Daniel when we say Daniel?
Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
Yeah, shake the bed, make the bed, and the bed we go. Yes. His three friends. And that's how I was taught in Sunday school to remember the names of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Was to shake the bed, make the bed, and
off
the bed we
there
go. So I remembered that. Most of the stories that we know about Daniel, we have got from our Sunday school days. When we look at the book of Acts, we generally have it because we've been to church and it's been something that we've studied as an older person. But generally, Daniel is treated as a great story for kids. And I think that's been the greatest mistake, or one of the greatest mistakes the church has ever made, is to treat Daniel as a book for kids. Daniel is in fact one of the greatest books in the Bible, and it's for you and for me, it's for all of us, and it sits there right alongside the book of Revelation. Daniel wasn't just in the lion's den. Daniel wasn't just with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fiery furnace. Daniel was about bringing the gospel to the world. It was about the end times. It was about God's great message. It was about God's great plan for you and for me. It was setting out and understanding how we know what is God's will for our life. Daniel is about learning about what is God's will for our life. You're here today. You chose to come today. You're here though also because this is where God wants you. Wherever we are in our life is where God wants us. The quicker and the sooner we realise that, the better off we're going to be. Let's have a look at what it's about. Daniel chapter 1 and 2, and it's all about the unexpected. What happened? Let's have a look at what it says. It's out of chapter 1 and we're going to a little bit of chapter 2. I'm not giving the whole chapters, I'm just taking excerpts. I'm not taking them out of context. They do run into it. In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came to Jerusalem and besieged it. And the Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into his hand with some of the vessels of the house of God, and he brought them to the land of Shinar, to the house of his God, and placed the vessels in the treasury of his God. We get a scene being set. Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon. In fact, he ended up being the king of the virtual known world of the day. Came to Jerusalem and besieged it. Where's Babylon? Iran and Iraq today. When we think of Iran and Iraq, we think generally, because of the media, terrorism and so on. And in some of us, we have a prejudice and we think of them as terrible people. But as Jan said in the children's talk, God doesn't hate us. God doesn't get mad at us. He may get mad at what we do, but he loves us. And he loved the people of Babylon. We know in the Bible very clearly, unequivocally, it tells us that God chose Israel as his people. He also chose Egypt as a special people, and he also chose those of Babylon, the Iranians and Iraqis, as special people too. We fail to realise that. And what we have here, and we just like today, that God took the Jewish people, the Israelites, and handed them over to Iran or Iraq. It sounds terrible. We have an understanding as Christians of the importance of Israel. And I've heard people from Israel talk about all the world should love Israel because they're the chosen one of God. Yes, we should. But they should also be following God. If they are not following God, they're not of God. And what do we know about Jehoiakim, the king of Judah? We know a little bit. But the important thing that we do need to know is the description that God puts on him. What did he say about King David?
A man after my own heart.
A man after my own heart. What did he say about King Jehoiakim? A man who does evil in my sight. And then his son. He's a man who does evil in my sight just like his father. And his grandson. A man who does evil in my sight just like his grandfather. Jehoiakim was evil. Or did evil. And God had to do something about it. And so he handed him over to Nebuchadnezzar, the Babylonians. Those who were perhaps seen as the great unwashed. Those whom the Israelis would not associate with. But no, he was handed over to them. And Nebuchadnezzar, the terrible, the awesome, came in and he besieged a place and he took the things of the temple, the holy treasures, and placed them in the kingdom of Babylon, in the house of the gods of Babylon. Here is God saying, Jehovah is evil, but he's allowing the treasured vessels that represent him to be gone and placed in the house of false gods. So how evil was this God to allow that to happen? And then we go on and we read, then the king commanded Ashpenaz, his chief eunuch, to bring some of the people of Israel, both of the royal family and of the nobility, youths without blemish, of good appearance and skillful in all wisdom, endowed with knowledge, understanding, learning, and competent to stand in the king's palace, and to teach them the literature and language of the Chaldeans. The king assigned them a daily portion of the food that the king ate, and of the wine that he drank. They were to be educated for 3 years, and at the end of that time, they were to stand before the king to be given a job. Among these were Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, or Azariah, of the tribe of Judah. And the chief of the eunuchs gave them names. Daniel he called Belshazzar, Hananiah he called Shadrach, Mishael he called Meshach, and Azariah he called Abednego. Can you imagine it? We're living here. We get besieged by a foreign country. They take away all the wealth, all the good things. Then they come back and take the best of our kids, the young people, the youth without blemish. How would you feel? They're going off to a foreign country. If you're a wise man or a wise mother, you would say to your kids, just go, don't create waves, make the best of it, and one day you'll be back. Sounds wonderful. I guess that's what those young people's parents probably would have said to them. How would you have been as a young person? You're being taken away to a land that you really don't know. A land where you are going to be a virtual slave. Even though you're going to school and you're going to be educated. I guess at the time you don't know that. What would your reaction be? Probably, if it was me, and I'm thinking back to my days of my youth, and I was being carted off to somewhere to do something that I didn't really want to do, I think I would have been pretty rebellious. In fact, I don't think it, no thinks about it. I think I would have been. I would. What would you have done? Would you have carried on? Or just submitted? Maybe they didn't have a choice. They did sort of submit. And so what happened? Let's read on. But Daniel resolved that he would not defile himself with the king's food. I mean, you were going to be given the best food. It just wasn't horrible food. It was like going on a cruise liner, getting all the right sort of food and putting on all the right sort of weight in all the wrong places. What do they do? No, we're going to have vegetables. Come on. What young person, when you've got McDonald's on offering, says, I'm going to have vegetables?
A wise one.
Obviously a wise one. We can see that you didn't fit that bill, did you? You know, it says there, or with the wine that he drank. Therefore he asked the chief of the eunuchs to allow him not to defile himself. Hang on. You're in another country, it doesn't really matter. It wasn't that he had anything against the food. He just felt, you know, it's not the right thing. He maybe wanted kosher stuff, is what it was all about, I don't know. But Daniel stands firm. And the chief of the eunuchs said, and God gave Daniel favour and compassion in the sight of the chief of the eunuchs. And the chief of the eunuchs said to Daniel, I fear my lord, the king, who assigned your food and your drink, for why should he see that you are in worse condition than the youths who are of your own age, so you would endanger my head with the king? Something happened here. Daniel and his friends went along and they weren't fighting. They didn't want to be there. What had happened to them was wrong. You do not get stolen. But they were. They didn't complain. They didn't fight back. A bit like Joseph. They accepted where they were. They accepted their lot. They accepted where they were. And in accepting where they were, they still remained firm to God. And God got the chief of the eunuchs to have favour on them. Could you imagine if they'd been rebellious, fighting and carrying on and cursing and telling them when they're a bunch of wackos and morons and everything else you can think of, that the chief eunuch would have had favour on them? Not at all. So he had favour on them. And as for these 4 youths, God gave them learning and skill in all literature and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. At the end of the time, when the king had commanded that they should be brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar, and the king spoke with them. And among all of them, none was found like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Therefore they stood before the king, and in every matter of wisdom and understanding about which the king inquired of them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and enchanters that were in his kingdom. And Daniel was there until the first year of King Cyrus. Interesting. Nice little children's story. That's what we get taught at Sunday school. So what are the points that we can take from that? We just read that portion of Scripture. What are the points that we need to get from that that are going to tell us about God's will for us in our life? Let's have a look. These are the points to ponder. Things happen, but they are part of God's plan. Things happen, but they are part of God's plan. When things happen to me that I don't like, do I see it as part of God's plan? Or is it something that I want to fight against? You know, we can look at the church. And we believe that God's given gifts to the church. And those gifts are given through people. And some of those gifts, and it's interesting to have a look at what the gifts are. It talks about helps and so on and so on. We recognise those gifts in the church, and we put people in a position to use those gifts. But when people start to use those gifts, and it affects us in perhaps a way that we don't think it's right, we want to fight it. We want to fight what God's saying and doing to us. We want to grumble and complain. We don't realise that things happen to us for part of a great, mighty, wonderful purpose. Now, Daniel was stolen along with his friends from his parents, from his homeland. Why? Because Israel had left God. And God had to do something about it. Israel was tasked with the job of letting the rest of the world know that God was God. They were to be his witnesses, but they'd fallen down. And so God had placed them in the hands of Israel's enemies, and Daniel in the hands of Israel's enemies. Why? Because Israel was not doing what it was asked to do by God in the first place. So God was still going to get done what he needed to get done, but he was using the plan that was going to be great. So Daniel and his friends were part of this plan of God's to let people know about God. It wasn't being circuited away in a little corner. So do we see that things that happen to us are part of God's plan? We can grumble, or we, like Daniel, can stand firm and witness. Is grumbling, complaining, carrying on a good witness for the Lord? Not at all. I grumble, I complain, I carry on. I've got to realise when that happens, I am not being God's witness. Because God's witness is all about love. God's witness is understanding that God's in control. God's witness is knowing and fully realising I am where I am because that's where God wants me at the moment. And therefore I should be doing something about that. I should be letting others know what God wants. We can focus on where we want to be or go where God puts us. Why are you here in Tea Gardens, Diamond, North Arm Cove, Tarlee, Hawks Nest, Carrington, Narong, Bulladoola? Why are you there, Bundabar? Why are you there? Why are you there? Oh, of course I had nowhere else to go. It was the cheapest place to buy. Or, I have to retire and this is as good a place as any. Got news for you. That's what you think. That's what you might believe. But you're there because this is exactly where God wants you. So we can focus, I shouldn't really be here. I know in my own life that I was a homeschool liaison officer, running around looking after the schools, making sure kids were getting there in this whole big area. I was what's called List 2 Secondary, which was pretty high up on a list in terms of promotion. Somehow after the earthquake and everything back in 97, whenever it was, I got placed at Tea Gardens Public School. I ended up being there for 10 years. Here was I at this level, and coming in where there was a principal and all the others. I was above the principal in terms of seniority and everything else, but I came into that school as just an ordinary teacher. I didn't like it. I mean, I did like being at school, but I didn't sort of like it. It was beneath my dignity. And so I would try to be and apply to be somewhere else. Funny thing is that they lost all their details on me. The department. This is weird, it's never heard of. Funny thing is that they didn't lose the details where to pay me, so that was good. And so I applied everywhere to get out in the promotion where I deserved to be. Where I deserved to be. I even applied for a job at Moree, where I was being eminently more qualified and suited to be at that job. Didn't get it. And as anyone said, if you can't get a job at Moree, there's something wrong with you. So what was God saying to me? I got no idea back then. I know now. But I hadn't realised that's where... I knew we'd come here because this is where God had called us to be, but I couldn't understand it all. I didn't see the big picture. I didn't see the end result. I still don't. But at least I know now I am where I am meant to be. So I've been placed somewhere by God. I can be looking to go where I want to go, or I can focus on where God puts me. Where God puts me. Or I can go, in other words, I'm here now. I've got to realise I have been sent by God to be here. That's the hard part to grasp. That we've actually been sent by God to be here. That's the first part of understanding and knowing what God's will is for our lives. The appreciation that we have been sent here by God. Let's read on. And anyway, in the second year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, had dreams. His spirit was troubled, his sleep left him. Then the king commanded the magicians. When we use the word magicians, we don't mean ventriloquists and and all that, and the magic shows. We're really talking about wise ones. As I've said before, this word comes from the Magi that came to see Jesus, and these were the people. This is where it all started from. This is where they came from. The Magi came from here. And we'll learn later on that this was the beginning of education and wisdom. When we think of ancient Babylon and all that, we do not realise it probably had a bigger library than the British library. Bigger library than the Smithsonian in New York. Thousands and thousands of books have been uncovered, but they weren't books, they were tablets or clay and so on. So they came in and stood before the king, and the king said, I had a dream and my spirit is troubled to know the dream. And so naturally the wise men said, oh, okay, well, tell me your dream and I'll tell you what the story is, what it means. And old Nebuchadnezzar said, if you're such a wise person, then you will know what my dream is. So you tell me what my dream is, and then you also tell me what it means. Oh, but they said, it's too difficult. No one can show it to the king except the gods, whose dwelling is not with flesh. They themselves, being horrible, well, not horrible people, but people who don't know the real God, they made the statement. No one knows but the gods who are not with flesh. You're asking an impossible task. So, what did Nebuchadnezzar say? Next. Because of this, the king was angry and very furious and commanded that all the wise men of Babylon be destroyed. If you're a wise person, you can't tell me what I'm dreaming and know what it's about, then you're no good to be amazed with me then. And remember, we're talking about a king where life meant why you live or you die according to what I say. So the decree went out, and the wise men were about to be killed, and they sought Daniel and his companions to kill them. Then Daniel replied with prudence and discretion to Arioch, the captain of the king's guard, who had gone out to kill the wise men of Babylon. Arioch's not the same one that was the chief eunuch. This is the king's guard, the chief soldier. So somehow Daniel came up to him and spoke to him with prudence and with discretion, and actually got a bit of a stay of execution. And he said, why is this, what's all happening, what's the real problem here? And he was told the story, and Daniel made an appointment to the king and said, give me some time and I'll tell you what the dream's about. Huh? Well, I suppose if you're about to die, you've got nothing to lose but to say, give me a bit more time and I'll see what I can do. Hoping maybe the king will change his mind. But Daniel knew that he was there. Daniel knew that he could do things. Daniel knew what God wanted him to do. Daniel knew what special gifts and abilities he had. He may never have used them, but he knew that God had him there for something. He had a relationship with God so that when the point came, he could be bold and go to the king and say, give me some time. Then Daniel went to his house and made the matter known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and told them to seek mercy from the God of heaven concerning this mystery, so that Daniel and his companions might not be destroyed with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. Makes sense, doesn't it? Very logical. Let's have a look what happens. What have we got to ponder on this? What are we going to learn from that? Number one, at all times and in all things, be prudent and discreet. Daniel learned over the food matter how to handle people. You don't bully them, you don't carry on, you don't have a hissy fit. You're prudent and you're discreet. A hard lesson I've got to learn. At all times and in all things. If you want people to be won over to God, you yourself have to be prudent and discreet in all that you do. So what we know of is, in God's will for our life, is we are where He wants us. And number two, we are to represent Him to the best of our ability. And in representing Him, we show them God's character. We do not show them our character. We show them God's character, which is prudent and discreet and wise. Then we find, out of that then, what did Daniel do? He sought God's counsel and prayed. He prayed. He went and spent time with God. I've got a difficult situation. I'm going to take some time and spend it with God. Then he also did something very, very important, which we do in the church, but we don't do it real well most times. Enlist our brothers and sisters to be our prayer warriors, to pray for us. Oh, I shouldn't bother them with that. Oh, that's a bit private. Sorry, the Bible tells us clearly, if you want to know God's will for your life, number one, as I said, realise where you are. Number two, be prudent, represent God's character. Number three, pray. And number four, get your brothers and sisters to pray with you or for you. How often do we do number four? I know Ruth sent out a beautiful prayer changes things, and she's so right, prayer does change things. But do we avail ourselves of it? Do we let Ruth and others know? Do we get a little group around us, you know, three friends, to pray for us and be involved in all that we do? We should be. If you're not, you're missing out on something wonderful. Okay, let's go on. And so, then the mystery was revealed to Daniel in a vision of the night. Then Daniel blessed the God of heaven. Daniel answered and said, "Blessed be the name of God forever and ever, to whom belong wisdom and might. He changes times and seasons. He removes kings and sets up kings. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to those of understanding. He reveals deep and hidden things. He knows what is in the darkness, and the light dwells with him. To you, O God of my fathers, I give thanks and praise, for you have given me wisdom and might, and have now made known to me what we asked of you, for you have made known to us the king's matter." Daniel had a dream, a vision revealed to him by God about what the king had done and seen, and the interpretation. And Daniel fully realised just how great God is and who God is. He picks up kings, he disposes of kings. He makes things dark, he makes things shine. This is the God. This is the God who has asked us to be here. This is the God who has asked us to be discreet. This is the God who has asked us to do something. So who we've got behind us is God the Great. As the kid's story said, God the Good, God the Great, God the Everywhere. Funny how all these things work in. I didn't know what Jen was doing today, but get the message. Who is God? You want to know your will for your life? Remember, you are where God wants you to be. You're to represent him, and you just fully realise who he is. Once you fully realise who he is, your will for your life will be so much plain and clear. Then Eric brought him Daniel before the king in haste, because I think he was going to get killed as well, and said to him, "I have found among the exiles from Judah a man who will make known to the king the interpretation." The king declared to Daniel, whose name was Belshazzar, "Are you able to make known to me the dream that I have seen and its interpretation?" Well, I'll be Daniel, I come in down, I go, "Yes, I can!" So what's he say? No. He's telling the truth. "No wise men, enchanters, magicians or astrologers can show to the king the mystery that the king has asked. But there is a God in heaven who reveals mysteries, and he has made known to King Nebuchadnezzar what will be in the later days." Daniel said it as it was. I can't tell you that God can. Remember the other rat bag magicians who said, "Oh, no one can do this, only some strange God"? Daniel wasn't there for that conversation. But he repeats what was said and said, there is a God that can do this for you. And by the way, O king, you just didn't have a troublesome dream. You've actually had this dream because God has chosen you, O King Nebuchadnezzar, to be the person whom God has revealed the end times to. You've been specially chosen by God. Now, let's go back a bit. Why was Daniel taken to Babylon? Of course, King Joachim and the others had let down God. They'd been disobedient. He just happened to be a nice bloke that they took and pinched and so on and so forth. But no, the big plan was that Daniel, the lowest of low, or the servant sort of people, was going to be placed in front of the king of all kings of the earth and given the opportunity to introduce that king to God. What a wonderful plan. But all started, but it was all done out of chaos. It was all done out of wrongness. Yes, it was. God has a plan. We might not see what this wonderful plan is, but there it was. He was being brought before the king to reveal God to the king. Now I can't even... Esther, she too went before the king. If I perish, if I perish. Nehemiah, same sort of story. Let's go along. Next. But as for me, this mystery has been revealed to me, not because of any wisdom that I have, more than all the living, but in order that the interpretation may be made known to the king, and that you may know the thoughts of your mind. And in the days of those kings, anyway, it goes on and explains the dream. You can go home and you read Daniel chapter 2 and you'll understand the dream. I'm not going to tell you now, but I'll tell you this part, just the last part. And in those days, the kings of God of heaven will set up a kingdom that shall never be destroyed, nor shall the kingdom be left to another people. It shall break in pieces all these kingdoms and bring them to an end, and it shall stand forever. He's talking about Jesus' reign, the final kingdom. Just as you saw that a stone was cut from a mountain by no human hand, and that it broke in pieces the iron, the bronze, the clay, the silver, and the gold, a great God has made known to the king what shall be after this. The dream is certain, and its interpretation sure. And Nebuchadnezzar knew, because he had the dream, and the fact that Daniel knew what that dream was, and then Daniel gave this interpretation, King Nebuchadnezzar knew that Daniel was wise or was from God. Daniel, anyone could have come in and told, you give me the dream, I'll tell you what happens. Nebuchadnezzar knew this was from God. Then King Nebuchadnezzar fell upon his face and paid homage to Daniel, and commanded that an offering and incense be offered up to him. The king answered and said to Daniel, truly, your God is God of gods and Lord of kings, and a revealer of mysteries, for you have been able to reveal this mystery. So, we have disobedient Israel, not letting the world know about God. And so God said, well, okay, Israel, if you want to be naughty for a while, I'm going to get my job done anyway, and I'm going to use your enemy, the people you think are pigs, and I'm going to get them to tell the whole world just how great I am. And we know that the reign of King Nebuchadnezzar and so on was mighty. One of the greatest kings in all the earth. All because Daniel chose to pack his bags and apply for a job in the king's court in Babylon. No, all because Daniel was kidnapped and placed in a place where he didn't want to be, but he made the most of where he had to be. So let's read on. What are the points we need to ponder? And the first one is, do I bless God? Do I give God the glory? When things happen in my life, and I suddenly have those light bulb moments and realise just how great God is, do I really bless God? And give thanks and say, I really realise who you are, God? Daniel did. He didn't take the glory from himself. He knew that God was the originator of his wisdom. Time's running out. And the important thing is, life is not about us. Life is not about us being kidnapped or being blessed. Life is all about Jesus. God's plan is to have Jesus known. He made Jesus known to Nebuchadnezzar in the end times, way back then, because Daniel was part of God's great plan. And my job, just as Daniel's job was, is to reveal Jesus to others. What is our point of our will for our life? Number one, realise that God has a plan. Number two, we must represent God's character. Number three, we must realise who God is. Number four, we must bless God. And number five, we must reveal Jesus to others. That's it in a nutshell. That's the purpose for your life. Go and read what you want. Go and read textbooks. Go and read everything else. In just 5 short sentences, you've been told what it is and purpose for your life. But just in case you haven't quite got it, let's have a look at this. Then the king gave Daniel high honours and many great gifts, and made him ruler over the whole province of Babylon. and chief prefect over all the wise men of Babylon. From a slave, from a kidnapped, to the Prime Minister of the greatest nation on earth. What a wonderful reward. But God had not finished with Daniel yet. There was more to come. And Daniel made a request to the king, and he appointed Shadrach, Meshach and Abednego over the affairs of the province of Babylon. And the province of Babylon wasn't just Babylon, it was Israel, it was everywhere else. So these boys probably have gone back to their home, or made a career out of what they were doing, and so on. And then it tells us, but Daniel remained at the king's court. He wasn't a slave in the king's court. He remained. He knew where he needed to be. He knew he was where God wanted him to be. You want to know your will, God's will for your life? And you need to know where does God want you, and you need to be there where God wants you. So, and finally, the question is, where are you remaining? Where are you remaining? In this great life that God's given us, where are you remaining? Shall we pray? Dear Lord God, Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for men like Daniel, Meshach, Shadrach and Abednego, Lord, for their faithfulness. We thank you, Lord, that Daniel has been able to reveal to us today your great plan and how you are the greatest. How we need to be blessing you, Lord, and how we need to be just reflecting your love to others. Thank you, Lord, that this is not a Sunday school story, Lord, but real life that we need to know and apply to our lives. Be with each and every one of us now, we ask in Jesus' blessed name. Amen.